Eva and I met during the fall semester of our senior year of college. I was finishing up a double major in economics and business, already deep into job interviews and networking events. Eva was in the design program, creative, loud in the best way, and always looking like she'd just stepped out of a vintage photo shoot. We shared a class by complete accident. It was an elective on architecture and urban development, something I only took because my advisor said I needed one more humanities credit to graduate. She sat behind me. I remember hearing her laugh before I ever saw her face. It was this bold, unapologetic kind of laugh that made people turn their heads, and when I finally looked back, she gave me a half smile like she already knew I'd be doing that again. We didn't talk right away. It was a slow build, passing notes about the professor's obsession with brutalism, glancing over each other's laptop screens, walking out of class at the same time. One afternoon, she asked me if I wanted to grab coffee. It wasn't flirtatious. It wasn't anything big, but I remember how easy it was to say yes. I remember thinking, I don't know what this is yet, but I want more of it. From there, we just kind of clicked. Our worlds couldn't have been more different. I was structured, type A, always thinking 3 steps ahead. She was messy in the most brilliant way, fueled by caffeine and chaos and color. Where I saw outlines and order, she saw possibility. Somehow it balanced. After graduation, we both stayed in the city. I landed a job in finance. She started freelancing, taking whatever design gig she could find. We moved in together a year later, not out of necessity, but because it felt right. We found a little apartment on the north side with creaky floors, big windows, and just enough space to both fall in love and get on each other's nerves. It was ours. We built a life slowly, like most people do. We didn't rush. We had our routines: Friday night takeout, Sunday walks to the farmer's market, staying up too late talking about what we'd do if we quit everything and moved to Portugal. She'd leave post-it doodles on my briefcase. I'd leave her playlists for the mornings she worked from home. We were that kind of couple. It felt solid. People liked us together. Friends said we were goals, whatever that means. My mom adored her. My dad said she was sharp, the good kind of trouble. She had this way of walking into a room and making everyone feel like they were in on a secret. The truth is, I never imagined my life without her in it. From the moment we started, it felt like she'd always been there. And back then, that feeling was everything. Marriage, for us, wasn't some grand event. We didn't do the whole massive venue, hundreds of guests, 3-tiered cake thing. We kept it simple. A small garden ceremony at a family friend's property, just close friends and family, a local jazz duo playing under a string of fairy lights. Eva wore a non-traditional ivory dress with embroidered flowers stitched along the hem, and she looked like something out of a dream I hadn't realized I'd been having until that moment. I wore a navy suit she picked out for me. She said it brought out my eyes, and that was that. We honeymooned in Maine. Not somewhere flashy, but it was perfect. We stayed in a little cabin off the coast near Bar Harbor. Mornings were slow, coffee on the porch, fog creeping over the pines. Afternoons were filled with hikes and eating way too much seafood. Nights, we wrapped ourselves in thick quilts and read books with our legs tangled together, the fireplace humming low in the corner. It sounds like a stock photo kind of memory now, but it's all real. It was a time so full of love it felt like the world had gone quiet for us. When we came back, life started to move a little faster. I was settling into my career. By that point, I'd been promoted into a management role, and the hours were long but satisfying. Eva's freelance work picked up too. She started getting recognition for some of her branding designs and was even featured in a small magazine spread. I was so proud of her. She never bragged, but when people complimented her work, she lit up in this quietly radiant way. That glow was contagious. We moved into a townhouse a few months after our first anniversary. Nothing fancy, but it had a small backyard and enough space for us to dream a little bigger. Eva turned the spare room into her studio, plants in every corner, fabric samples pinned to corkboards, the floor a soft chaos of paper scraps and paintbrushes. I set up a home office across the hall, and we'd meet in the kitchen for coffee breaks like co-workers who couldn't keep their hands off each other. Our routines deepened. Weeknights, we cooked together, her chopping vegetables while I handled the stove. We had this game where we'd play records and try to guess the artist before the first chorus. Sunday mornings were sacred. Croissants from the French bakery down the block, mugs of too strong coffee, and no screens allowed. Just us and the morning light. We weren't flashy. We weren't the couple constantly posting about each other online. But we were happy, truly, quietly, unassumingly happy. We made each other laugh. We teased. We dreamed. We never needed much to feel full. Sometimes, when I think about those years, I wonder if I appreciated them enough while I was in them. I think I did. But there's something about hindsight that makes everything feel warmer, more fragile, like it was all made of glass and we just never noticed. I'd go back to those days in a heartbeat. Just to sit beside her on a rainy afternoon while she sketched something she'd never show anyone, and I'd be pretending to read but really just watching her work. That life, our life, it felt like home. These days, our life is quieter, but it's a good kind of quiet, the kind you grow into like a favorite hoodie, a little worn at the edges but comforting in ways you never expected when it was new. We've been married 8 years now. That sounds like a long time when I say it out loud, but it never really felt long. Time with Eva always moved differently. Not fast, not slow. Just steady. Like it knew where it was going and didn't need to rush. Our mornings start early. I'm usually the first one up, making coffee while it's still dark outside. There's something peaceful about that half hour before the world really wakes. Sometimes Eva joins me, bleary-eyed, wrapped in the blanket from our bed, curling up at the kitchen table while I read the news and she scrolls through design blogs. Other times she sleeps in, especially after a long night working on a deadline. I always leave a mug for her on the warmer, just the way she likes it, oat milk, no sugar, extra hot. Work keeps me busy. I'm a partner now at the firm, which comes with more pressure but also more freedom. I've been trying to scale back a little, make more space for life outside the office. Eva's business has grown too. She's taken on a few big-name clients recently, and I can tell it means something to her, even if she downplays it. She still works from home most days, tucked away in her studio with soft jazz playing and her pencils scattered across the desk like she's mid-thought. I love passing by and catching her in the zone, her brow furrowed, one leg pulled up into her chair, strands of hair falling over her eyes. I never interrupt. That's her magic space. We have our rituals. Taco Tuesdays, where we always end up overfilling the shells and laughing as everything falls apart. Saturday movie nights, complete with homemade popcorn and whichever blanket Eva decides is the coziest this week. Every month or so we go out to this little Italian place we found years ago. Red wine, shared dessert, a booth in the back where we can talk for hours without even realizing it's closing time. Our social circle is small but close. We host dinners now and then, mostly for her creative friends and my work buddies. Eva has a way of making people feel like they belong, like being in our home is exactly where they're supposed to be. I admire that about her. I've always been more reserved, more structured. But she brings people in. It's a gift. We've talked about kids. More than once. Some serious conversations, some lighthearted what-ifs. It's not something we've rushed, and we haven't felt pressure, just letting life unfold. There's comfort in knowing we're on the same page, whatever that page turns out to be. She says we're already a family, just the two of us. And I get that. I really do. If someone asked me what my life looks like now, I think I'd tell them it feels settled in the best sense of the word. Not boring. Not stuck. Just solid. Reliable. There's laughter. There's quiet. There's someone to come home to who knows how you take your coffee and when to leave you alone and when to pull you out of your own head. We built something real. And every now and then, I catch myself watching her across the room and thinking, God, I got lucky. Becoming a father changed something in me that I didn't know needed changing. We weren't planning, exactly. But we weren't not planning either. It just happened. I remember the moment Eva told me. We were sitting on the floor in the living room, eating takeout straight from the boxes, one of those casual weeknights when the only thing on the agenda was finishing the leftovers and watching bad TV. She pulled a tiny onesie out from under the couch cushion. It said, "Little Wild Thing." I laughed, assuming it was a weird gag or maybe a gift for a friend. Then I saw her eyes. Shiny. Uncertain. Hopeful. She whispered, "I'm late. 3 tests." I wanted to wait until I was sure. I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at her, then at the onesie, then back at her again. And then I remember saying, "Are you happy?" She nodded. "Are you?" And I was. The pregnancy went smoothly for the most part, though Eva was every kind of hormonal at once. One minute she was crying over a dog food commercial. The next she was yelling at me for buying the wrong kind of sparkling water. But even in the chaos, there was something sacred about that time. I was in awe of her body, of what it was doing, of how she carried it all like she'd been built for it. She hated when I said that, claimed she felt like a bloated space whale, but she was radiant. Our daughter, Lily, was born on a Wednesday morning, just before 5 a.m. 6 pounds, 9 ounces. Full head of dark hair and lungs like a fire engine. The delivery room was a blur of beeping machines, quiet panic, and then this overwhelming rush of love I still can't describe. I held Eva's hand the entire time. She wouldn't let go. Even when she was exhausted and trembling, she squeezed my fingers like she was grounding herself in me. Bringing Lily home felt like being handed a firework with a note that said, "Good luck." The first few nights were brutal. Sleep was a myth. Eva and I shuffled through the apartment like zombies, passing the baby back and forth like a sacred torch. But something shifted in the middle of all that. We became even more of a team. We learned to move around each other with instinct. She'd rock Lily while I made a bottle. I'd change diapers while she finally got to shower. We stopped keeping score. It wasn't about balance anymore. It was just about getting through it together. Now, Lily's 4. Her world is all glitter, crayons, and extremely strong opinions about what she will and won't wear. She's curious, stubborn, and fiercely attached to Eva. Every night before bed, she demands a story, not from me, but from mommy only. Eva makes up the most ridiculous, whimsical tales that I could never compete with. They lie on the bed, noses touching, lost in some imaginary land. I watch them sometimes from the hallway, heart swelling to a size I didn't know was possible. We take turns doing preschool drop-off. I pack her lunch in the mornings, cutting sandwiches into shapes, slipping notes inside like, "You're my sunshine," or "Kick today's butt." The one she can't read yet, Eva translates at home. We have this little morning tradition. Lily insists on kissing me on both cheeks, like in the princess movies, before she leaves. I live for those moments. Weekends are full of playdates, coloring books, and sticky fingers. We become the kind of parents who talk about sleep schedules and snack variety like it's national policy. And you know what? I love it. I love the mess of it. The noise. The constant motion. The way Eva hums to herself when she braids Lily's hair. The little rituals we've made as a family: Friday pancake dinners, Sunday park walks, rainy day blanket forts. This house used to be a home for 2. Now, it feels complete. Or at least, it did. Lately, there's been a feeling I can't quite put into words. Not something big. Not loud. It's more like walking into a room and knowing something's been moved, even if everything looks the same. I didn't notice it all at once. It crept in quietly, like fog rolling over a familiar street. One minute you're walking your usual path, the next, you're not sure if you're still heading in the right direction. Eva's been different. Not in a dramatic, shouting match kind of way. No slam doors, no obvious distance. But it's there in the small stuff. The way she looks at her phone a little longer before putting it face down. How she's always just finished a text when I walk into the room. Or how she suddenly has more client calls that she takes upstairs with the door closed. I told myself not to overthink it. She's busy. Her design work has picked up a lot this year. More clients, more deadlines, more stress. She even started going into the city twice a week to meet with a new client in person. I encouraged it. I wanted to be supportive. Still do. I mean, she's worked so hard to build her own business, and it's finally taking off. That's something to celebrate, right? But I'd be lying if I said it doesn't bother me how often she's been staying late after those city meetings. Not every time, but often enough to feel unusual. Once or twice, she said she stopped for dinner or drinks with a colleague, someone from a creative agency she's collaborating with. And sure, that makes sense. It's a creative industry. People bond over late work and craft cocktails. I get that. But it's the way she talks about those nights that doesn't sit right. Like she's rushing through the explanation. Like the story is memorized. There was this one night last week. I had Lily asleep early. The house was quiet. And I thought maybe I'd surprise Eva with her favorite wine and one of those fancy frozen pizzas we keep for lazy Fridays. She'd said she'd be home around 8. But 8 came and went. Then 9. No texts. No calls. I waited until almost 10 before finally messaging her. She didn't reply until almost 11, saying she lost track of time and her phone died. She was apologetic, sure. Said she'd had the best creative brainstorm with her colleague and didn't want to interrupt the flow. I believed her. I wanted to. But still, it stuck with me. It's not just the late nights. It's her mood. Sometimes she seems distracted around me, even when we're alone. Like her body's here, but her mind is somewhere else entirely. She laughs at different things now. Smiles to herself in moments I can't read. I used to know what those smiles meant. Now, I'm not so sure. She's more attentive with Lily than ever, playful, affectionate, always present. And maybe that's what throws me off the most. There's no anger, no coldness, no obvious pulling away. It's just that something feels divided, like a piece of her is somewhere I can't reach. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm projecting. Work's been stressful on my end too, and I haven't exactly been the most fun lately. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just tired, or boring, or maybe we've just hit one of those weird stretches all couples go through. But sometimes, when the house is quiet and I'm lying there next to her, watching her back rise and fall in the dark, I feel this ache in my chest, like something is changing, and I don't know what it is yet. The funny thing about growing distance is that it's almost never announced. It doesn't arrive with a door slam or a fight or even a long silence. It seeps in through ordinary days. It hides behind routines. You don't notice the quiet until you realize it's been there too long to be a coincidence. We still do all the same things. We eat dinner together. We talk about our days. We laugh when Lily does something ridiculous, which is often. But there's a hollowness to it now, like someone dimmed the lights just enough for you to wonder if your eyes are playing tricks. I keep trying to brush it off. Maybe this is just what happens when you've been with someone for so long. Life settles in, and the excitement reshapes into something more subtle, more quiet. Maybe I've just forgotten how to feel the smaller moments. But then there are these slips. Things Eva says that don't quite line up. Last Thursday, she mentioned she was meeting her client at a new art gallery opening. She described the exhibit like she'd been there before, even used the word again when talking about a sculpture. I asked her if she'd already gone once, and she blinked at me like she was rewinding a conversation she hadn't meant to start. "Oh," she said, "I just meant I saw it online. I didn't press. But I thought about it. Too long." And it's not just her words, it's her rhythms. She showers at strange times now. Late at night, sometimes after Lily's asleep and we've already settled in for the evening. Or early in the morning, before she even has coffee. It's small, I know. Maybe meaningless. But it feels out of step with the Eva I've known for nearly a decade. Her scent has changed too. She always used the same lavender body lotion for as long as I can remember. Now it's something warmer, muskier. A new perfume bottle on her dresser she said was a gift from a client. I asked which one. She paused for a second too long before saying, "That boutique project I told you about." She hadn't. We haven't had sex in nearly 2 months. And before that, it was already becoming rare. She blamed stress, fatigue, hormones. Says she's just not feeling connected to her body lately, and I've done everything I can not to take that personally. I haven't pushed. I've tried to be patient, supportive. I've told myself this is a phase, that we've been through dry spells before and always found our way back. But this feels different. Not just physical distance, but emotional disconnection. Like there's a closed door in her I'm not allowed to knock on. I try not to let Lily feel any of this. I don't think she does. She's too little, still wrapped in the warm glow of a world where both her parents are there when she wakes up and there when she goes to sleep. She crawls into our bed on weekend mornings, her tiny feet freezing against my legs, her arms flung across one of us like she's anchoring the whole family in place. And in those moments, I tell myself this is all in my head. That what we've built is too real to fall apart this quietly. But something's shifting. I feel it in my bones. I've stopped talking to my friends about it because I don't know how to explain a feeling that doesn't come with proof. I don't want to sound paranoid or insecure or like I'm digging for something that isn't there. And maybe that's exactly what I'm doing. Maybe I'm scared of shadows and reading too much into late returns and new perfumes and slips of the tongue. But the doubt lives here now, right next to me. It walks with me through the hallways of our home, whispers to me when Eva's upstairs and I'm alone in the kitchen, staring at a half glass of wine she said she didn't feel like finishing. I love her. God, I still love her. That's the hardest part of all this. You'd think that suspicion might dull the love, make it easier to detach. But it doesn't. If anything, it makes me cling harder to what we used to be. What we are, maybe. I still don't know. But something is off. Something is wrong. And I don't know whether I'm more afraid of being right or of being wrong. It's strange how silence can become its own kind of noise. Not the peaceful kind. Not the comforting quiet you find in a shared cup of coffee or an evening walk with someone you love. No, this is a different silence. The kind that hums low beneath the surface, buzzing behind words, following you from room to room. I feel it all the time now. When Eva and I talk. When we don't. She's been more present lately, but not in a way that feels reassuring. It's performative. Like she's trying to prove something she thinks I'm wondering about. More kisses on the cheek. More How was your day? Really? But there's a stiffness to it. Like she's reciting from a playbook. Like the questions have answers she's already written for me. The other day, I caught her deleting messages off her phone. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. She was on the couch, phone tilted just slightly away from me, like it always is now, and I happened to glance over when she swiped left on a string of messages and tapped delete, before immediately switching to her gallery, scrolling through photos as if nothing had happened. I said nothing. She didn't look up. My heart thudded like I just caught a bullet grazing the air beside my head. Close. Too close. I haven't slept well in weeks. I keep waking up in the middle of the night and just lying there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rhythmic breathing beside me that no longer calms me like it used to. Sometimes I imagine waking her up and just asking, is there someone else? But I don't. Not because I'm afraid of the answer, though I guess I am. It's more that I'm afraid of breaking the illusion. Because once you say it out loud, you can't go back to before. You can't unknow the question. There's a weight on my chest I can't shake. I've been going through the motions at work, trying to keep it together, trying not to spiral. I haven't told anyone. Not my brother. Not my closest friend. No one. It feels like a betrayal just thinking it, let alone saying it out loud. People admire us. Eva and I, we've always seemed solid. Happy. We are, on the outside. We were. I don't even know anymore. But if I open that door even a little, I feel like the whole thing might collapse under the truth of it. And Lily, she keeps us moving forward. That's the thing. With a child in the house, you can't just fall apart. You still have to make lunch, read bedtime stories, brush hair into braids and answer questions about dinosaurs and space and whether rabbits dream. You still have to be there. And in a way, that's what holds me together. That she still sees her parents smiling, hugging in the kitchen, saying goodnight in the hallway. She doesn't know what a slow unraveling looks like. I hope she never does. But I see it. I feel it. Every time Eva says she has to run out last minute to grab something for work or stay late to help finish a branding package, I feel it tighten in my chest. It's not that I don't want to trust her. I do. But trust isn't something you offer forever without question. It's something that lives, breathes, needs tending. And right now, mine is starving for truth. I've thought about checking her phone. Truly checking it. Going through the apps she rarely uses in front of me, digging for something that might explain the knot in my stomach. But something in me holds back. Maybe pride. Maybe fear. Maybe a part of me still clinging to the hope that I'm wrong. That this is burnout. A rough season. A detour before we find each other again. But deep down, I think I already know. Something's going on. And whatever it is, it's not far away anymore. If you've ever had a moment where your whole world shifts in a matter of seconds, then maybe you'll understand what I'm about to describe. Not the kind of shift that comes with a scream or a crash, just a quiet, surgical removal of the reality you thought you were living. That's what it felt like. That exact stillness. The day started normal enough. My parents were hosting a small family gathering, one of those semi-regular Sunday things with too much food and a few cousins and enough background noise to keep you from thinking too hard. Eva was in a good mood, or at least she was playing the part. She wore a pale yellow dress I hadn't seen in months, her hair done in the soft waves she used to wear all the time when we were first married. Lily was glued to her side, cheeks sticky from fruit punch, giggling with her cousins. Everything looked picture perfect. But I'd felt off all day. Not just suspicious, uneasy. It was in the way Eva kept looking over at my father during lunch. Not staring, not inappropriate. Just watching him, studying him, like they had some silent understanding I wasn't part of. I tried to ignore it. I drank a little wine, made small talk, helped my mom bring out dessert. Then, after things calmed down and most people had drifted into the backyard, I went looking for Eva. She'd disappeared inside, and I assumed she was helping my mom with dishes or maybe taking a breather from the chaos. I passed through the hallway, slow, half distracted, until I heard voices in the side room. The one off the kitchen my mom uses for storing seasonal decorations and talking to people in private when family drama bubbles up. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I froze when I recognized the voices, Eva's and my mother's, and at first, it just sounded like a regular tense conversation. Then the words started landing. "You have to tell him," my mother said, her voice low but sharp. "He deserves to know." "I told you," Eva replied, casual, almost amused. "I'm not telling him. Not now. Not ever. He's your husband, Eva. And if you don't, I will. I can't keep this secret anymore." There was a pause, Then my mother's voice again, quieter now, like she was trying to hold herself together. He's not Lily's father. He needs to know the truth. That child is his father's. My ears were ringing. I had to put my hand on the wall to keep myself upright. For a second, I thought maybe I misheard. Maybe I missed some context, some cruel hypothetical. But then Eva laughed. Laughed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't evil. It was just amused. Cold. Like someone who didn't take the threat seriously. "Oh, Margaret," she said. And I'll never forget the way she said my mom's name. "If you tell him, I'll have no choice but to tell everyone your little secret. How long do you think your perfect marriage will survive once your husband knows you've been confiding in his ex-business partner after all these years? I don't think he'd like that very much." My mother gasped. Eva kept going. "You think you have something over me? Try me. You want to ruin your family? Let's ruin it together." And my mother said nothing. I stepped back, slowly, quietly. My hands were shaking. I couldn't feel my legs. I walked down the hallway like a ghost, stepped out the front door without anyone seeing me, and got into my car. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't ask questions. I didn't look back. I just drove. At some point I pulled over. I sat on the side of the road, car still running, staring at the windshield like it might show me some other version of the truth. One where my wife hadn't slept with my father. One where the little girl I've raised and loved with every fiber of my being is my daughter. One where my own mother isn't holding this secret inside her like a loaded gun. But there is no other version. There's only this one. And I have no idea what to do with it. I didn't sleep the night after the party. I didn't cry either. Not then. I just sat in the dark on the couch with a single lamp on in the corner, watching the shadows on the ceiling stretch and shrink like they were breathing with me. The house was too quiet. My house. The place I had worked for, loved in, built a life inside of. The walls felt like they were listening. I kept hearing their voices. Eva's laugh, my mother's stunned silence, the gut-punch truth echoing over and over again. He's not Lily's father. Every time I heard it in my head, I gripped the edge of the cushion tighter, like I was trying to keep from falling into a hole that had just opened beneath my feet. At around 5 in the morning, I stood up, walked into the kitchen, and poured myself a glass of water. I stared at the fridge, covered in Lily's drawings. Her uneven hearts. A shaky stick figure version of me holding hands with her. One of them had the words, "My daddy is the best," written across the top in her clumsy, adorable handwriting. I broke then. I didn't mean to, but I did. The glass slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor, and I slid down the cabinet door until I was sitting in the mess, sobbing into my hands like something had been ripped out of me. And something had been. My daughter. My father. My wife. My mother. My entire foundation. Gone. Not with a bang, but with a whisper behind a half-closed door. By noon, the numbness had returned. I was done bleeding. What was left now was fire. Controlled, deliberate fire. I called a locksmith and told him I needed the locks changed on every door. I didn't even bother with a cover story. I think the man could tell I wasn't in the mood for small talk. I stood outside as he worked, staring at the front of my home like it belonged to someone else. When he handed me the new keys, I just nodded, paid him in cash, and stepped back inside. It felt like drawing a line in the sand. This is where they end, and I begin. I sat at my desk and drafted a message to Eva. I didn't curse. I didn't rage. I didn't even call her names. I just wrote, "I know everything. Don't come back. You're not welcome here. Your key won't work. I've already spoken to my lawyer. Your position at the firm is terminated, effective immediately. You'll receive final paperwork through official channels. You'll explain this to Lily in whatever way your conscience allows. I'm done." I stared at it for 10 minutes before hitting send. I don't know what I expected to feel. Power? Closure? Nothing came. Just silence. I turned my phone off and threw it on the bed. I didn't want to read whatever she might send back. I didn't want her words. I'd heard enough. Then I called the office. I own the company. She worked in our marketing department because I brought her in when she wanted to be close to me, to help build something together. It was never her world, but I made space for her in it. I protected her. I let her carve out a piece of my work life because I loved her, because I believed in her. And she used that same world as cover while she dismantled the one we had at home. My assistant didn't ask questions when I gave the termination order. She just said she was sorry. I could hear the hesitance in her voice, but I didn't offer anything in return. There were no explanations that would make this easier to say out loud. After that, I sat with the last thing I knew I had to do. I called my mother's number. She didn't answer. I didn't leave a voicemail. I didn't need to. I called my father next. Same thing. No answer. But I did leave him a message. 5 words, spoken slow and clear. Don't ever contact me again. Then I blocked them both. I don't know what hurt more. Knowing my wife had betrayed me with my father, or realizing my mother had known and stayed quiet. The woman who raised me, who told me when I was 7 that secrets hurt more when they're kept than when they're told, who looked me in the eye at our wedding and said she'd never seen me so happy, who sat across from me at the dinner table for years, telling stories and laughing while hiding this. I haven't told anyone yet. Not my friends. Not my coworkers. Not even Lily, of course. She's with Eva for the weekend, something we'd planned weeks ago, so I could finish a deadline. I don't even know what I'll say when I see her again. I'm not sure how to parent through this. How to be a father when everything that word used to mean to me now feels like a lie. I'm not grieving a marriage anymore. I'm grieving a whole reality. And maybe that's why I'm not shouting. Maybe that's why I'm not smashing things or begging for explanations. Because I've already buried something. Something I can't ever get back. And now? Now I'm just sweeping away the pieces. I don't know what comes next. But whatever it is, it won't include them. Starting over doesn't come with some grand announcement. There's no soundtrack, no moment of clarity where the clouds part and the light shines through. It's not that cinematic. What actually happens is far messier, more subtle. It starts when you open your eyes in the morning and, for the first time in weeks, you don't immediately feel like you've been punched in the chest. When the silence in your house starts to sound less like grief and more like peace. That's where I am now, caught somewhere between devastation and possibility. I moved out of the house. It was a decision that came quietly. No dramatic goodbye. No slamming of doors. I just looked around one night and realized that everything in that space, every picture, every drawer, every mug, held a version of life that no longer belonged to me. The air felt heavy with memory. Even the walls seemed to whisper things I didn't want to hear anymore. So I packed a few things. Essentials only. Left the rest. I don't want to take the past with me. I'm renting a small place across town. Nothing fancy. 1 bedroom. Clean lines. A balcony just big enough for a chair and a morning coffee. It's quiet here. Sometimes too quiet. But it's mine. Every piece of furniture, every dish, every smell, mine. No ghosts in the hallways. No echoes of betrayal in the bedsheets. I don't sleep well yet, but I breathe easier. Work has been both a blessing and a curse. It gives me structure, focus, something to pour myself into. But it also means walking past the office Eva used to sit in. It means answering the occasional awkward question from a colleague who heard about the divorce through whispered hallway gossip. I haven't told anyone the whole truth, not yet. There's a strange kind of power in keeping it to myself. Like I'm not ready to share the ending until I've fully figured out the next beginning. And then, there's Lily. God, Lily. We've set up a temporary arrangement, co-parenting, split days. I see her 3 times a week. It's not enough. It never will be. But when she's here, everything slows down. She has no idea, of course. She knows we're taking space, which is how Eva put it. She asks questions sometimes, like if I'm going to come home soon or if mommy's mad at me, and I do my best to answer without unraveling. She's still drawing pictures of the 3 of us. Still signing them, Lily and my family. And I tape them to my fridge because I don't know how to tell her that her drawings are the only things in this apartment that make it feel like home. And then, in the middle of all this, the stillness, the pain, the healing, I met someone. I didn't plan on it. I wasn't looking. I was just sitting at a bookstore cafe on a Sunday, reading a novel I'd already read twice, and this woman asked if she could sit at my table. Every other seat was taken. I said yes. We didn't talk much. Just shared a table, sipped coffee, and read in quiet parallel. But there was something in the way she smiled when she left. Gentle. Real. Uncomplicated. I saw her again a week later. Same cafe. Same time. This time she sat down without asking. She said, "I hoped you'd be here." Her name is Nora. She's kind in that way that doesn't demand attention. Funny without trying. She listens more than she talks, and when she does speak, it's always something thoughtful. We've gone out 3 times now. Once for dinner. Once for a walk through the botanical gardens. Once for nothing at all, just sat in the park and watched the city move around us. I haven't told her everything yet. She knows I'm divorced, that I have a daughter, that I'm figuring things out, and she hasn't asked for more. Not yet. I don't know where it's going. I'm not trying to rush into anything, But after months of walking through ashes, just the idea of something new, something not soaked in betrayal, feels like the first sip of water after a long, dry silence. This isn't a happy ending. I'm not there yet. Maybe I never will be in the way I imagined once. But it's something. It's movement. It's breath. It's a life that's mine again. And after everything that's happened, that's a start I can live with. It's been a year. A full year since that party. Since I stood outside a half-open door and listened to my life collapse in the span of a few sentences. Since the weight of betrayal moved from suspicion to certainty and crushed everything I thought was unshakable. I still remember the exact hum of the refrigerator in the hallway, the tightness in my chest, the cold numbness that spread through me like I'd swallowed something sharp. It's strange how a few words, quiet, offhand, not even meant for you, can split a world in half. But now, a year later, the silence in my life is different. It's no longer made of shock or confusion or that kind of grief that wakes you at 2 a.m. just to remind you what you lost. No, it's made of calm, stillness, space. I live in a different home. It's not flashy. It doesn't have the open-concept kitchen Eva always wanted or the custom tile she chose. But it's mine. I painted the walls myself. Bought furniture that doesn't match but somehow fits. There are plants in places I never used to care about. A new coffee machine. A reading chair by the window. It's the kind of space that doesn't carry anyone else's fingerprints. Just mine. And that, I've learned, matters more than I ever understood. Lily is still too young to know the truth. That day will come, I know. And when it does, I'll tell her gently. Carefully. I'll make sure she knows that none of it, was her fault. That no matter who her biological father is, I will always be her dad. I was there when she took her first breath, her first step, her first fall. I read her bedtime stories, wiped her tears, taught her how to hold a crayon and say, "I'm sorry," like she meant it. I loved her before I even met her. That won't change. Biology never stood a chance against that. As for Eva, I haven't seen her in months. Our communication is strictly about Lily now, passed through email and a co-parenting app. She tried to explain things once, early on, sent a long message that read more like a defense than an apology. I never responded. What could I say? There's nothing she could write that would make sense of what she did. She chose betrayal. Repeatedly. And that choice was the final word between us. My father? I meant it when I told him not to contact me. He didn't. Neither did my mother. I sometimes wonder if they're still together, still living out their neat little lie. I don't think about them often anymore. It's not anger that keeps them away, it's distance. Boundaries, hard-earned and permanent. I made peace with the loss of that family. I've had to. And then there's Nora. She's still around. We've taken it slow. Deliberate. There's no pressure between us, no urgency to define anything too quickly. I told her the full story one night after Lily had gone to sleep. Every word. She listened the way someone does when they're not waiting to talk. Just listening. She didn't flinch. She didn't judge. She said, "You didn't deserve any of that. But you handled it with more grace than most people would." And something in me cracked open when she said that. Not in a painful way, but in the kind of way that lets light in. I've learned a lot this year. I've learned that betrayal doesn't end with discovery. It echoes. Through birthdays, holidays, through the scent of a shampoo that smells too familiar, through a photo at the bottom of a drawer. But I've also learned that the echo gets quieter with time. I've learned that silence is not emptiness. Sometimes it's healing. I've learned that love isn't just a feeling. It's a choice. And when someone chooses against you, it doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means they were never capable of loving you the way you deserved. And I've learned that starting over isn't about forgetting the past. It's about carrying what you've survived without letting it define who you are. So this is where I leave the story. Not with revenge. Not with a dramatic ending. Just with truth. I was betrayed. I was broken. And then, slowly, I put myself back together. If you're reading this and you're somewhere in the middle of your own wreckage, I just want you to know, you can get through it. It will hurt like hell. But one day, without realizing it, you'll laugh again. You'll wake up and feel your own heart beat without checking to see if it's still cracked. You'll build something new. And when you do, you'll know that it wasn't the betrayal that defined you. It was what came after.